If you're someone who has always wanted to get consistent clients in their online service-based business without the pressure to post on social media, I made this podcast specifically for you. I'm Leslie Stevens, and I am so excited to welcome you to the Not an Influencer show, where we chat about other organic marketing strategies that you can use to bring clients into your business quickly and easily, and the tangible tips for you to move forward faster in your business, and the stories of the entrepreneurs who are doing the same every single day. You do not have to be an influencer to be an impact maker and a successful online business owner. Amazing. So today we have Anita with you, and I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what you do as well.
Oh, hi, Leslie. Thank you so much for having me on your show today. It's a real honor and a privilege. Hi, everyone. I'm a beauty therapist, CEO. I'm also a published author.
Amazing. So how did you become a beauty therapist?
Yeah, well, I went back to college as a mature student back in 2005 to study beauty therapy. So I was working in a corporate pharmacy career at the time, full time. And I went back to study for a new direction in life.
How did you take the plunge to change directions?
Oh, yeah, it's a long story. It was actually in 2003. I was getting married in September, and I had an accident at work where I fainted and hit my head on the floor, and I had a massive black eye, and it was the best thing that happened to me because it was a wake-up call, because I was so stressed out working in pharmacy, and I wanted my life to change, but I didn't know how or where. I'd been working in pharmacy since I was about 18 years of age, back in 91. So I'd been doing it a long time, and I was just sort of plodding along, and I just had no idea of what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to progress up the pharmacy ladder, going into corporate management and things like that. It wasn't really for me. It was very, very stressful. But I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to have my own business. But I just stayed in my little comfort bubble. I just didn't know how or what to do to make the change.
So having that accident was just kind of like, okay, let's go into something different. How did you pick beauty therapy?
Well, I actually had a dream about having my own salon. It was really, really strange. I'd literally just sort of visualized one night about being the proud owner of my own salon. And then I just dismissed it. I just got rid of it out of my mind. I just forgot about it, just carried on plodding along in my career. And then I thought it just kept coming back to me. And I thought, well, actually, no, I need to look further into this. And then the following year, when one of my friends lost her daughter so suddenly, it was another wake-up call. And it's like, okay, so now you need to look into this. Your vision is just trying to tell you something. So I looked into what it would be to go back to college to study beauty therapy. When I was standing in line with all the 17-year-olds at college, bearing in mind at this time I was 32 years of age, I thought, no, why am I here? What am I doing? Stay in your safe career. Don't change things. But something was pushing me towards the lecturers and looking into this. So the following year in 2005, was it 2004? Do you know, I get lost with the years now. Yeah, 2005, I went back to college, and I was still working full time at this time. And I went back to college 2 nights a week, studying beauty therapy, and also working at home in the evenings, building up my portfolio, and obviously learning the craft. Then I know, but then about obviously a year later, when I got my level 2 diploma, I was like, okay, so this is it. What do I do now? I've got the qualification to start, but I just don't know what to do. So I just stayed in my little bubble, just stayed in my little comfort, stayed in my job. But I was furthering my education. I was learning further treatments. I went into learning how to do massage and things like that. And again, though, I just stayed in my comfort zone. I didn't do anything with it. I just stayed. I was qualified and nothing. And it wasn't until further wake-up calls that happened that eventually I started my business, not until 2012. So I qualified officially in about 2009, but it was a few years later before I started up my business part-time.
So how did you get your first client? How did you start that business after
Yeah,
waiting for such a long time?
I know. Well, obviously, all I had at that point was college experience. I had nothing else. Obviously, we had a salon in the college where we used to have clients coming in, but that's the only experience that I had. So I would start practicing on friends and family. That was how I first started. And then I got some business cards made up and I would put leaflets through the doors. And I must have posted out about 500 leaflets and I got absolutely nothing back, nothing. And then I thought, oh, maybe it's me, maybe it's me. So I just carried on practicing on friends and family. And eventually my confidence grew, my experience grew, and they would be recommending their friends. So I would be getting some more clients. But then when it was about a month later, because my business just wasn't really going anywhere, so a friend of mine who worked at the local school, she said about having a stall at the school, to get yourself out there. So I just thought, oh, my beloved business, I've done all of this studying. I can't put it all to waste, so I need to look into this. So I was absolutely petrified. I was shy. I was introverted. I didn't like being around crowds of people. I hated it. But I thought, it's either this or you've got to stay in your job and stay in your comfort zone. So I set up a store and I put up a lovely sort of tablecloth and had my business cards. I had my nail polishes because I used to do manicures back then. I don't do them anymore. And I would just focus on just doing mini manicures and talking to people. And I gained a couple of clients from that event. So I was starting to get myself out there with the people. But I was so glad that I did that event because I met the vicar of our local church and somehow we got talking on to doing a pamper event. So I did a charity event, obviously doing massages, and we would be raising money for the school. And I started gaining a few more clients from that. I was getting myself out there with the people. So initially, obviously with leaflet drops and things like that, obviously I wasn't getting anything from it, but I found my success was when I was getting myself out there in front of people so they could connect with me. And fall in love with me as a person, really, so they could see the person behind rather than all these social media posts. Who's that? It's so easy to put posts out and put leaflets through doors, but who is the person? Because in a service-based business, obviously you are connecting with people. So I was getting myself out there with the people and I was very gradually over the years drawing them into me.
That's amazing. I think that's such like a normal story, but nobody talks about it because I know so many people with all of the qualifications under the sun, but it takes you a really long time, especially if you're introverted. Like it takes you a long time to kind of gain that courage to really put yourself out there. And sometimes I see like social media posts as you're still kind of hiding because you don't really want to be putting yourself forward. So you're like, oh, I'll just post this and see if it works. But when you get out there and you really put yourself out there where people are and put yourself in the position at events to really talk and communicate, this is me, this is what I do, this is how I can help you, that's when you really start to build your business. And that does take a lot of courage. So no matter if it takes you a week to do that or 15 years to do it, like it's still an incredible feat that you're putting yourself out there and you're willing to be vulnerable, because there's always that chance in business, like, hey, it might not work out. But if you put yourself out there, you are far more likely for it to work out. So for me, it's worth that risk. And for a lot of people who have created their businesses, I know they feel like it's worth the risk out as well. And like for you, it's just you start small, you start local, you start where you're at. And even if nobody shows up to that first event, like, hey, you did an event and you don't know when that next offer is going to come for you to do more events and work with more people. And then you allow your business to build. So many people think they just hand out their leaflets or post on social media and they've automatically got clients forever. But it is something that you have to build over time. And
Yeah,
then
you
you get
have to
those
face a
people.
lot of rejection over the years as well. A lot of people saying no or not getting back to you. And I've done events where people haven't shown up. You know, I would have been there all on my own. I would have not spoken to maybe one or two people, not given out any cards. And part of you thinks, oh, this was just a waste of time. And then, but the more you do it, the more you keep getting yourself out there, and then all of a sudden, boom, it explodes. I remember one event, I was just so rushed off my feet. I wished I'd have had a couple of PAs with me at the time. You just don't know what, you know, who you're going to meet when you get out there as well. And whenever I do an event now, I just look and think, who am I going to meet today? You know, how many wonderful people am I going to meet today? And I always have positive affirmations. Everything's going to be really successful today. I'm going to make lots of bookings. So I really sort of get myself hyped up to expect success when I went on my events.
Yeah. And that's the kind of like the overnight success thing where like one day it's like boom and all of this stuff happens. But it's all of those years of work that you had before, getting your qualifications, having all that practice, spending the time working with your family and friends. Like all of that grows into your business in the future. And I also know that so many people don't want to do that part. Like they don't want to do that work. They just want the end success. Or when they start, they're like, oh, why haven't I succeeded yet? And that's because those overnight successes, those people who are showing you how to do this, they've been through all of that work. They've made those sacrifices. And yes, there are those people who just have that success, but you don't know what it looked like for them before. Maybe they had an entirely different career that set them up in a different way. So I'm really, really, really glad that you're sharing your story. And now you're an author, right?
That's correct, yes. And that came about as an accident, really. It was in lockdown last year, obviously when we were all closed down for 4 months, at the worst time of the year, obviously January right through till April. It was very dark out. You know, you weren't allowed to go out anywhere. You felt like you're in, well, I suppose like you did over there as well. You feel like you're in prison, don't you? And when it's so dark out, you hibernate and you literally you go back into your little bubble again. But I watched The Secret on Netflix, which is a documentary. I don't know whether you've ever watched it.
I haven't watched it. I've heard about it though.
You have to watch it. It's all about the law of attraction. And even though my beloved business had been closed down, obviously for, I suppose effectively 9 months of the year, like everyone else with service-based businesses, the documentary actually made me realize that I was living my dream. Even though I was closed down, I couldn't believe it. Everything that I had achieved in my business, you know, it was like, I can't believe it. You know, everything I visioned back in 2003 when I got married and I hit my head and I had a vision about setting up my own successful business, how it's gone today. I need to tell people about my story, you know, to help and inspire other people, you know, that it doesn't matter where you come from, what you're doing now, it's never too late to change direction in life, things that are not working for you, you know, today is the day, you know, just make the change. So I had an author friend on Facebook and she was running a free 5-day challenge on how to elevate your authority and write your heart-led story. How weird was that? So I joined her heart-led challenge, and within 1 week I'd written my first 3,000 words of my book. So my book is about, it's a memoir. So it just talks about points in my life that have got me to where I am today in my business. So it is more of a business book really, because even though it's an autobiography as well, it only touches on certain points of my private life. So I've left quite a lot out of it, but I talk a lot about what I went through going back to college, how I set up my business, how I kept going 3 steps forward and 2 steps back the whole time. Sometimes I would go 3 steps forward and 5 steps back. It was always like that all the time. But it also says about when I finally took the plunge to make my part-time business into a full-time business, and how I literally, I won't say that I literally doubled my income overnight, because I had been building it up all those years part-time. And when I went full-time in November 2018, I had clients that I'd seen a few years before that had come on a certain day, but because I was only part-time, they couldn't come. So they would be messaging me saying, "Oh, I'm so glad you're now full-time. I can come on a Monday, or I can come on a Friday. And well, now we can start telling our friends." So I did literally double my income overnight, and I kept doing it every single month until we went into lockdown in the end of March 2020. So I had literally become an overnight success, but I had been building it up all those years to actually make that income come in. And it wasn't from keep posting and posting on social media at all. It was getting myself out there. And I was getting myself out there with celebrity work as well. I met and massaged quite a lot of famous celebrities, which unfortunately I can't talk about who I massaged. But every single time I would be in an event, it would go into our local paper. And I would have clients messaging me, obviously, "Oh, I've seen that you've been associating with these famous people, and I would like to book in for that treatment that you're doing," and how I was getting myself out there. So that's why I thought, I need to tell people what I did, what I went through to build up my business to the success it is today.
Yeah, that is incredible. So for the people whose absolute dream it is to be able to work with celebrities, how did you position yourself to get that kind of work?
Well, one of the treatments I took on was called the lava shell massage, which is the world's first self-heating massage tool. And the director was looking for therapists to massage celebrities because she wanted to get her business out, obviously, into the world more, because she was in the infancy of her business. So she was looking for therapists that would be willing to do this celebrity work. And of course, obviously, not many of us came forward. And even when I applied for the position, I had lots of negative self-doubt. Why me? Why would they choose me? You're just a normal, average therapist. So I was talking myself out of it. But then I would talk myself into it by saying, well, why not me? What makes me different to any other therapists out there that massages celebrities? So I applied for the position. And I went to work with the company for a day at a massive beauty show. And I just thought, just don't put on any acts, just be yourself. And at the end of the day, the director came up to me, said she'd been observing me all day. I sort of pretended she wasn't there, really. And so I thought, I can just be myself, just carry on what I'm doing. And she said, "I love your personality." She said, "I'd like to invite you to the lava party." Now, everyone says, "What's the lava party?" I tell you, that is on my portfolio of all the different events that I've done. And it was their first ever big event that they did in London at a nightclub, which was going to be hosted by OK magazine, which obviously, as you know, OK is a worldwide celebrity magazine. They were hosting this event for the company.
Amazing.
It was amazing. But I was so scared. I would shy away from the camera, my head would be down. And so consequently, the paparazzi they were all there, but they didn't really want to know me. But they did obviously hone in on me, and I did get my picture taken with a few of the celebrities. But that was my first ever event that I did with lots and lots of celebs there. So more and more events were coming my way. My confidence grew. So as I started to fall in love with what I was doing, and obviously the camera would be more on me as well. So I would be getting myself packed with all these famous celebrities that I'd met, and obviously they would go into the paper and things like that. And yeah, that's how I got into my celebrity work.
That's incredible. What great opportunities. And working with like partnerships are a great way to grow and a great way to get exposed to different types of people. Like if you didn't have that partnership with them, you might have not been able to do as much celebrity work. It might have been more difficult for you to do that. But working with other people allowed you to grow so much in that specific way, which sounds like a ton of fun as well.
It was fun, very nerve-wracking as well. The amount of times that I wanted to throw up before an event because I was so nervous. I was so scared. And, you know, I found out that when I was doing all these wonderful events, they were just normal people, just like you and I. But that was what they did for a living. And talking to them, how they got into their careers, was quite fascinating as well. You know, some of them, obviously they all held normal corporate jobs, and obviously then they got into their careers. But what was most fascinating of all was watching them switch for the camera, though. How they would be just talking to a normal everyday person, and then all of a sudden there would be like this axe coming on and everything. I was like, wow, it's so fascinating to watch. And especially when I did a lot of music artists, and watching them live on stage and all the preparation and the work that goes into it's a real eye-opener. And obviously like some of these big events, when you see what goes on with all the production team and everything, yeah, it was a real honor to do this kind of work. But what actually got me into doing this work was when one of the treatments that I took on with the company with the lava shell massage was the lava shell thermofacial, which was a deeply relaxing, holistic, meditative, zone you out facial. It was wonderful. And one of my clients had come to experience this treatment, and she said to me, I saw that treatment on the TV. So she was telling all her friends that I was doing this treatment. And that's when I had the light bulb go off in my brain, thinking, oh, celebrity work, could I do that? You know? And because of that treatment and because of that letter, you know, that is still my number one treatment on my menu today, with more and more people having it. But when people were first starting to have it, because it's such a luxurious treatment and you charge a worth for it, you know, they were only having it as a one-off experience. And I thought, well, this is great, but how can I get repeat custom from it? So the company would teach us how to devise a treatment plan for people, because it's really good for people who are suffering with insomnia, if they're stressed out, depression, and things like that. So we would book them in for a course, and then they would see the benefits, obviously over a long period of time, and then getting clients to give you a testimonial of their treatments as well, how it made them feel. So when you go onto Google, if you were to Google my salon, most of them, a lot of people, new clients booking in, say, your lava shell seems to be quite popular, doesn't it? You know, because everyone can see all their reviews on how the lava shell made them feel. And I had one review go into our local paper as well. So I would get people booking back in regularly for that luxurious treatment. But I would also keep it affordable, because everyone could see that the celebrities were having it. You know, but is this a treatment that's good enough for me? You know, I'm not a celebrity. You know, my clients are not celebrities, and I make sure it's affordable for them as well. So charging my worth, but affordable to the clients so that they can keep enjoying the treatment regularly.
Yeah, definitely getting smart about your services, knowing your demographic and how to serve them with this luxury treatment, making them feel like they're celebrities too. And then
Absolutely.
you have that social proof to back it up. And then there's one more thing that I want to talk about, it because you've mentioned it a couple times, and I think it's so important, about how you are talking to yourself through building your business, where there's this inner critic and there's this kind of like imposter syndrome that that you're constantly kind of like, oh no, I couldn't do that. Why me? I'm not special, things like that. But then the other side, you were able to talk to yourself and be like, why not me? Why can't I do it? So where did you learn to do that?
It was back in, 1996, I think it was, when my late elder brother, my brother, I lost him in 2018. He died suddenly of a heart defect. But he introduced me to network marketing back in 1996. So I was introduced to the concept of changing your mindset. So I went to this business meeting with all these people dressed in suits, and the atmosphere, it was electric when I walked into this room. And I was like, whoa, what is this? There's all these happy, positive people. They were standing upright, their heads were up, you could just feel the aura in all of these people. And that was when I was first introduced to the power of the mind, and what you feed into your mind is your output. So I would read lots and lots of positive motivational books, listen to tapes. Obviously there were tapes back then before CDs back in the 90s, and listen to people's stories as well, and famous speakers like Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, and I would be listening to their YouTube videos today thinking, I'm sure I've heard that before. Yes, I remember hearing that back all those years ago. So I was feeding my brain, I was cleaning my brain of all these negative thoughts over the years, but you cannot clean it 100%. It's just totally impossible. And the brain is such an undiscovered part of your body. I've been listening to Jay Shetty's podcast quite a lot, and actually I was listening to one this morning actually where he was talking to this brain surgeon, obviously in the US, and Dr. Armen, that was his name, Armen, I think his name was. And he was actually talking about what you feed into your body influences what you have in your brain. And it's not just from positive self-talk and things like that, but also what you eat, what you drink, what you absorb, obviously on the TV, what music you listen to. It can have either a negative or a positive impact on your output. But by reading all these different books slowly, because it's not overnight, it took many years. As you know, I didn't actually go and change my career until 2018, but I was slowly developing my mindset over the years, until I finally took the plunge to just go for it, because the more you keep putting things off, the longer it's going to take you to get to where you want to be. So you have to take that plunge now. Don't put things off. But the more you keep telling yourself that you can't do something, it becomes the reality.
I love everything that you just said. I think mindset is the key to success in anything that you want to do. And even if it's not a business, if you just want to do a hobby and see success or anything like that, it all comes down to your mindset. And you can retrain the way you talk to yourself, but it's just like training. You have to practice over and over. And there are times where your mindset might get a little bit negative and you go back to what you learned. You can catch yourself eventually. It's something that I continue to work on today and I've worked on for years. But mindset is like that daily practice. It's just like you have to eat every single day. What can you feed your mind that's positive every day to put yourself in that position where you will succeed? So thank you so much for spending time with us today. Can you tell everyone where they can find you to connect with you?
Yeah, obviously you can connect with me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I've just opened up a TikTok account as well. So my Facebook is at Anita Sweatman Official. Instagram is at Anita Sweatman Author. TikTok is obviously Anita Sweatman Author. Twitter is at Anita Sweatman. And obviously my website is www.anitasweatman.com. So you can obviously read about my story, and I hope it helps you in your business and your career change, or if you were talking about if you want to change your hobby or just change anything in your life, you can connect with me there.
Perfect. And I'll drop all of those links below the YouTube video and in the podcast description. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks, Leslie. It's been lovely speaking with you today.
If you want to learn more about different marketing strategies to bring consistent clients into your business without feeling the pressure to post on social media, make sure you watch the free training on the client connection method, which is in the description below. Thanks for hanging out with us today.